Marcel Brommager here. In this video, we are going to talk about how to identify notes on a staff. All right, so some of you are able to read music. Maybe you've played an instrument which you can read from a staff, maybe treble clef, maybe it was a bass clef. Some of you have never read music before. Some of this is completely new. All right, so let's talk about how to learn notation. How do we read notes? Okay, so one thing, of course, is going to be a little slow in the beginning. You're going to having to figure it out. We have ways to figure out the notes, but the more you do this, the faster you're going to be, and you want to be able to figure out those notes as quickly as possible, okay? And you want to be accurate as well. You don't want to be sloppy and say, oh, is that a G, is that an F? No, you want to really think it out, okay, to make sure that you have the correct note. But you just, of course, don't want to spend 20 minutes figuring out one note. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck, okay? You're not going to be able to learn. It'll be frustrating. It can cause a lot of problems. So let's talk about how to notate and how to read notation. Okay, so I've got my treble clef here and I got my bass clef here. And remember, we talked about the staffs. Okay, so here are some quick and easy ways that you can remember how to remember these notes on the staff. Okay, very simple. So we have kind of acronyms and little shortcuts. So let's start with the notes in the treble clef. We're going to do the notes that are in the spaces. So we'll do this. All right, so here are the notes in the spaces. Okay, so we have F, A, C, and E. So F, A, C, and E. So that's really easy. Okay, face. Boom. So let's say you have to figure out what this note is. You just remember your face. Ah, it's a space. It's a space note. I just remember that it's on the space. I remember my face. Boom. It's A. Okay? So that's how you figure that out. You can say that it's A, then you are all set to go. Okay? So those are the notes on the space. Okay, now we have a different method in figuring out the notes that are on the lines. Keep in mind that the notes that are on the lines are pretty much a step apart from the notes that are on the spaces. Okay? So if I write the notes that are on the line, so these notes are on the line. This is a question I ask my students all the time. Is the note on a line or is the note on a space? So E, G, B, D, and F. All right? Now, you might not be able to remember E, G, D, B, F, but you can remember, and this doesn't really make such a cool word like face, but you can remember every good boy does fine. All right? So those are the notes that are on the lines for the treble clef. So if you remember every good boy does fine, okay, treble clef lines, every good boy does fine, boom, you'll be able to figure out any one of these notes. You need to figure out the notes on the spaces, you use face, okay? So if I said, okay, what note is this? You could say, oh, every good boy does fine. Oh, it's the first, it's the E, boom. Then you figured out the answer, okay? So remember those acronyms. So those are the treble clef notes. Now, let's go to the bass clef. Now, keep in mind that bass clef uses an entirely different system than the treble clef. So you can't use any of these notes or any of these acronyms to help figure out these notes. Okay, it's a completely different system. But we can still use acronyms to remember those notes. So let's start with the notes in the spaces. So here's our space notes. A, C, E, G. Okay, what's a good acronym? All cows eat grass. All right, so this is a great way to remember these notes. All cows eat grass. All right, so you're in the bass clef, you see a note in the space over here. Okay, you might not be able to identify it right away. You could say, oh, I don't know what that note is. But you say, okay, oh, wait a second. For the bass clef space notes, it's all cows eat grass. Boom! I can figure out that that is E. All right? So that is how you figure out those notes. And just like in the treble clef, you had an acronym for the space, you have an acronym for the notes on the lines. G, B, D, F, A. All right, what's a good acronym for this? Bass clef line notes. Oh, good boys do fine always. Good boys do fine always. So if there is a note right here in the middle of the staff, you check out bass clef, you say, okay, oh, that's right, I know the acronym for bass clef line notes. Good boys do fine only. Good boys do, it's D. There you go. Okay, so the acronyms could help a lot in trying to remember what these notes are. Of course, make sure that you pay attention to the clef. Sometimes people are not watching the clef, whether you're dealing with treble clef or you're dealing with bass clef. All right, or maybe you're really good at treble clef notes, but you're not so good at bass clef notes. But you gotta watch the clef to make sure that you are in the correct clef, because a lot of students make this mistake. All right, they think they're in this clef, but they're actually in this clef, and that can completely throw you off. All right, so that is how one way you can figure out treble clef notes, bass clef notes if you are reading music. If you know that this is, oh, what note is that? Okay, treble clef notes on the line. Every good boy does fine. Every good, that's G. Okay. Now, if you have a note that goes right above it, right? This is going from the line to the space above it. All right, it's just going a step above. So that goes straight to A. Remember what we said, that we use A through G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it just keeps repeating itself. So it goes up from G to A. All right, but what if it goes down? If it goes down, well, we go backwards in the alphabet. G to F. All right, so you guys know your alphabet. Can you say your alphabet backwards? Give it a shot. It's a little tricky, right? G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Yep, it's a little tricky, but you'll get used to it, okay? You know, what you could do is, a little cheat sheet. Just write down your alphabet. I do this with my beginners, all right? This is moving up, and this is moving down, all right? So if you say, oh, wait a second, that note is a step down from C, boom, you got it, it's B. Okay, so that is a great way, another way to figure out notes. Is it on a line? Is it on a space? Use your acronyms. Or if you already know one note, you can figure out the next note, whether you're moving up or down. And this is moving by step, but even if you were to move by skip down, like this, well, we just skip over the F. We're moving backwards. A step backwards would be F, but we'd have to move another step because we're now jumping down to the next line. We're not going by step, we're going by skip. So we're skipping over the F, we get to E. All right? So that is another good way for figuring out notes. I prefer that way because then you're using the notes that are already on the staff. If you forget the acronym, well then you're kind of stuck a little bit. So if you already know some of the notes on the staff and you've been studying them already, you can use those notes to figure out other notes, okay? Because it just keeps repeating itself over and over again, okay? So those are some great ways to figure out the notes on the staff, all right? Thank you. Okay, for our quick check today, we are going to identify some notes on the staff, okay? So I hope you have your staff paper and your pencil ready. Good? All right, let's do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 3 notes here on the staff. and I want you to see if you can identify these three notes. Okay? I'm going to show you these three notes. When you see them, you go ahead and pause the video. When you think you have the answer, you unpause it, and I will take you through to the answer. So here we go. Okay, did you figure out these notes? Alright, so let's talk about how we can figure this out. So, you see the bass clef over here, so that we know that we need to use either Good Boys Do Fine Always for the line notes, or All Cows Eat Grass for the space notes. An additional tip, by the way, is that only use one acronym. Right? If you use only remember one acronym, that's okay, because you can use one acronym to figure out the notes in between. All right. So since we have, let's start with this note. So all the notes on the line are Good Boys Do Fine Always. So we know that this note is an A. So if you know that this note is an A, you can see that we're moving from a line to a space, and we're moving up. So that is a step up. All we need to do is move a step up from A in the alphabet, which would be B. And if you got this far, you can almost guess what this note is. Okay? This note is above the step, and it's on its own line known as a ledger line. And because it's going from a space to a step, we're moving by step up again. This was A, this is B. Can you guess what this is? If you said C, then you got it. And like I said earlier in the video, you can also use the same method if you're going down. You can use step down, you can go skip up or skip down, skip over a note. So that is these three notes in the bass clef. A, B, and C. If you figured it out,